A potential rift between the United States and Israel has spilled into public view. President Joe Biden says that Israel's, quote, indiscriminate bombing of Palestinian civilians is hurting international support. He's voiced criticism of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government, calling it the most conservative in the country's history that's against a two-state solution. Other longtime allies are becoming increasingly isolated on the global stage, following a UN General Assembly vote calling for an end to the fighting in Gaza. Some 80% of member nations passed a resolution that is non-binding, with no major powers joining Israel and the United States in their opposition to the ceasefire. Israel's air and ground campaign against Hamas has reduced much of Gaza to rubble. The IDF says that it carried out more than 250 strikes in the enclave over the past day, killing at least 50 Palestinians. The Gaza Health Ministry, meantime, has recorded more than 18,000 civilian deaths since the war began in early October. The UN estimates that some 80% of the enclave's 2.3 million people have been displaced. Rainy winter weather has worsened the conditions for hundreds of thousands of families who are living in overcrowded and unsanitary conditions. The UN Humanitarian Office has reiterated that Gaza is facing a, quote, public health disaster. Aid groups are warning that the territory will soon be overwhelmed by starvation and disease as food, water, as well as medical supplies fall to critically low levels. And for more, Sarah Coates joins us. She's live for us in Tel Aviv. Sarah, US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, he's set to visit Israel this week. What can we expect to come out of the meetings he's going to have?
Hello there, Dawn. Well, look, he's expected to touch down here in Tel Aviv tomorrow amid reports that the United States is trying to push Israel to wrap up this operation inside the Gaza Strip. Up until now, we've heard from Israeli officials, and they say that they won't be given a time frame to carry out this operation inside Gaza, saying they'll take as long as they want and as long as they need to defeat Hamas. Now, on the back of that visit by Sullivan, we are expecting yet another diplomatic trip, this time by the Defence Secretary Lloyd Austin. He'll be coming here at the invitation of the Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. Now, he'll be asking for a briefing about what's actually taking place on the ground in Gaza, and also a situational update on the situation on Israel's northern border when it comes to this hostility, the uptick of hostilities, I should say, with Hezbollah. Now, look, Dawn, all of this comes as there certainly seems to be a worsening of relations between the US President Joe Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. There have been a number of leaks come out over the past few days, one of those coming out of a meeting from the Knesset, where Netanyahu reportedly said that he can deal with Biden. Now, this is in relation to the United States continuing to push Israel to limit humanitarian or human casualties on the ground inside the Gaza Strip, and also to have some sort of a post-war plan when it comes to the Strip, also agreeing that there needs to be a two-state solution. So certainly, as you mentioned, a lot of, you could say, dirty laundry out in the public now.
At the same time, Sarah, we've got the onset of winter. It's getting colder there. And aid officials are warning that that's just making the humanitarian crisis in Gaza even worse. What's the situation on the ground right now?
You mentioned it. It is really cold. The temperature, Dawn, has really dropped off over the last few days. We had a massive storm rip through the region last night. There is a low pressure system that is developing, and rain is continuing to fall. Now, you have to remember that there are around 2 million people in the Strip who've been internally displaced. Many of those are trying to shelter somewhere safe down in the south of the Gaza Strip, but you just need to look at the pictures coming out, really, and many of these people simply don't even have a flimsy little tarpaulin over their heads to keep them dry. We are hearing that flooding has been happening down in these so-called safe zones down near the Rafah border crossing. But look, according to UN officials, disease is spreading. Many children are presenting with acute diarrhoea. There are lung infections, and the situation is just absolutely, as they're describing it, like hell on earth. Now, with regards to these aid trucks, Israel has opened that Kerem Shalom crossing, but we do need to remember this is just for inspection of aid, not actually to let aid into the strip. And there is, of course, this problem with the bottleneck at the Rafah border crossing, given it was designed as a foot crossing at first, but is now dealing with a high volume of trucks simply not getting them through fast enough.
Sarah, thank you for that. Sarah Coates there reporting for us live from Tel Aviv.